poppin', y'all? It's your girl September K, Bronx beats and bars in the building. BX stand up. What's poppin', y'all? Bronxness stand up. We in the building.
What's poppin', y'all? It's your girl September K, Bronx beats and bars in the building. Today we doing things a little bit different. This episode is dedicated to financial literacy. A lot of us spend, but we don't save. So here now we have CEO of Chambers Capital, Mr. Tyrell Chambers.
Yes.
Tyrell, what's going on, man? Welcome to Bronx Beats and Bars. How are you?
I'm good. I'm also glad to be on your show.
It's an honor. I appreciate you too, brother. Now, the reason why I feel that this episode should be based off of financial literacy is because it's tax season. A lot of people are about to, spend money, save money, hopefully, pay off debts and, just get themselves together so that, throughout the course of the year, they'll be a little bit more financially stable. So what I want to know from you is the different ways that we can do that. But first and foremost, let's talk about who you are. Who is Tyrell Chambers and how did Chambers Capital come about?
So Tyrell Chambers is a huge financial literacy enthusiast, blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, everything and all above, everything fintech, and that's financial technology for all the people who don't know what fintech is. Tyrell Chambers, he grew up moderately financial illiterate, didn't really know anything about financing or finances or money of the sort. I had a poor background, the black community, urban community. We don't really have too much to go off of besides the love and affection of our parents. I've also been in the banking industry for so long now. I've been working the back office, the front office, retail banking, and things of that nature.
What's the back office?
The back office.
That sounds like some real secret squirrel shit.
It kind of was actually. Like, I was working with like private placements, bonds, stocks, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Like equity trading. For Bank of New York Mellon, I was like a little intern for them, so I kind of got to see how big money traded, and on the back end.
Yeah.
So all of the stocks that you invest in, and things like that, all these like trading companies, there had to be some sort of paper, like,
right.
Like there was some physical paper. So what I did was I reconciled that paperwork in the back end of JP Morgan.
Oh, nice.
So that's just a bit about me. So I grew up, I went to a finance high school, Murray Bertram for business careers.
Hey.
And I graduated and I went on to do a couple of years at Baruch. And that was great, and then after that I just worked in the bank, and then from the bank I just started getting into financial literacy and teaching underserved and underrepresented communities.
Dope. So when did Chambers Capital come into fruition?
So Chambers Capital came into fruition about 2 years ago, 2018. Then in 2018 we was established.
Cool.
I created Chambers Capital to be a growth platform where we believe that empires are built from the ground up.
Right.
And also to, promote and teach financial literacy to these underserved communities. And just shed knowledge on the things that I've learned,
right.
Throughout my years in the field.
What are some of the seminars that you've given or you've participated in, and what are some of the feedback that you've gotten, or just some of the knowledge that you gained while you were teaching and schooling people about financial literacy?
So Pay Yourself First was like one of the most lucrative gems I probably received. One of the biggest jewelry that I ever had was Pay Yourself First. Oftentimes in the black community, we like to pay other people. We like to get our money and start paying, the big brands out there. You got your Gucci's, your the Burberrys, the Amiris, you know, all, like, we like to get our money and just get flashy and just start paying these big corporations instead of actually taking the money and paying ourselves.
Right.
So that was one of the biggest things I've gotten after going through some of these seminars and actually teaching some of these seminars. I realized most people want to know how to pay themselves. How can they get rich?
Right.
And the best way to get rich is to make yourself rich, you know, instead of making everyone else rich. So that was something I've learned, and I've also been able to take on.
What are some of the do's and don'ts that you have for our viewers who, or just, you know, our communities, that we should really, especially with tax time and everything, that we should really pay more attention to? Because you talk a lot about like Bitcoins and different investments and how you predicted certain things back in the past that came into fruition now. And I've watched that with you on social media, and I'm like, damn, like, you know, how can we be a part of the Bitcoin cryptocurrency, you know, world? Because a lot of us are so unfamiliar with that. So can you give us like a brief generalization of what the whole Bitcoin cryptocurrency world is about?
Absolutely. So Bitcoin is essentially digital currency. You know, it's money that's essentially on the internet. So it's as if when you think about it, most of our transactions and most of our purchases are coming from the internet, and it's transacted digitally. So what Bitcoin is trying to solve is the idea that everyone should be able to participate in this financial landscape, and not have all these intermediaries like these central banks and these banks controlling when you can receive your money, how could you pay your money, and things of that nature. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, is a digitalized currency that you can only really get on the internet, and it's something that I've seen back in the day, because I always look to see how is the financial landscape going to evolve.
Right.
Everything else has kind of innovated. Everything else has kind of evolved, like your technology, how we communicate evolved. You know, how we take taxis evolved. You got Uber. You know, how we you know, Dine. We got like Open Table. All of these different type of companies, and also, you know, going to hotels. Now you can do Airbnb. Now your house could become a hotel. It's just like, now knowing all of that information, how is money going to evolve? So I looked at it and I'm like, Bitcoin.
Right.
Bitcoin was something that evolved money. I'm able to transact to someone, and because of blockchain, which is the security aspect of Bitcoin, I know if I send somebody money in Africa, it's gonna get to them as quick as an email could be sent over to an employer.
Now, the confusion, or like what I'm confused about when it comes to like Bitcoin is, you know how we can just take our bank cards, pull money out, actual physical cash.
Right.
We can't do that with Bitcoin. So how will we know for sure that we're getting, let's say, our money's worth? Because I think that's where the skepticism comes when it comes to like Bitcoin. It's like, we can't physically touch this, so how can we physically know that this is actually like, you know, a part of our account, or that when we are investing, or if we want to invest, that this is something that's actually going to be a return on our investments? So can we like talk a little bit about that as well?
Absolutely. Just to go off of that, even when you have paper money, you don't really know if that's worth more money than what it is. Like we only give value to it because that's what we do. If you think about it, the dollar only has values because we place faith in it. Why do you think they say, you know, on the dollar bill is like, in God we trust, or this is a faith-based currency? We used to be able to value the dollar based on gold, based on actual commodities.
Right.
So now that we've off that gold standard, we've only really given value to the dollar based on whatever it is that it's being worth. Think about $1 back then. You was able to buy a couple of groceries.
Yeah.
You was able to get certain things.
Little snacks and all that. Yeah.
You was able to get all of that.
Yeah.
Now, you take $1, you could get a song on iTunes.
Right.
So it's like, is there really value in this dollar? And if so, how? Because from my knowledge, if you can only get a song on iTunes for $1, that means the dollar is depreciating in value. So you want to think about that. And what I like about Bitcoin is that there's a finite amount of Bitcoin that can ever be mined. So 21 million Bitcoins that's the only amount of Bitcoins that can ever be mined. So there's a scarcity to this coin.
Now, what do you mean by being mined?
So when you go and when you go get gold, it takes a lot of manpower to actually find gold, because you got these miners who go out there.
Right. Okay.
And mine gold.
Right.
So this is why there's so much value based on gold, because there's so much that goes along to get the gold. And in order to get a Bitcoin, there's so much computational mining. So there's so much computer mining that goes along to get Bitcoin. So that's what makes Bitcoin so valuable, is that you can only mine but so much, and it takes so much computer power to do so.
Like, you just dropped some shit. I'm like, what? What? Now, how do you see Bitcoin influencing our communities, and how would that influence help financial growth in our communities?
So, because there's no central authority controlling Bitcoin is actually decentralized, meaning that there's no one to control Bitcoin. It's just something that's there, and it's for everybody. So anybody in the world could grab a piece of Bitcoin, as opposed to all of these different currencies that these countries have. You have to go through hoops and hurdles to get $1, to get the won, to get a rand. You have to go through the government to get your money. As opposed to Bitcoin, you could just go out and just buy it off the internet.
And when you buy it off the internet, where does it, like, you see, like, again, like our money is in our debit cards or whatever, where can we store Bitcoin in that aspect?
Right, so Bitcoin can actually be stored on exchanges such as like Coinbase. All of these different coin exchanges that's happening now are holding Bitcoin.
And we can use that to purchase.
And we can use that to purchase items, different items now. And going forward in the future, we'll get into a world where Bitcoin is used to purchase so many different things in the world, and different other cryptocurrencies will be able to will be used to purchase these items. And what's happening now, I'm not too sure if anyone's ever really seen this, but what's happening now is a lot of these, what China is doing, they're digitizing their currency. So they're making their currency digital. So it just goes to show you how powerful the internet is and how powerful this digital age is becoming. So you want to grab Bitcoin and all these other digital assets as quick as possible.
Now, how can we be down? Like, how do we grab the Bitcoin?
You want to do it through Binance. You want to do it through these digital exchanges like Coinbase. Binance.
Is there like a buy-in amount that we have to have?
No, and that's the best part of Bitcoin. So in Bitcoin, you could buy pieces of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is trading right now, let's just say $8,800. You could buy a piece of Bitcoin, so a fractional piece of Bitcoin, and profit off of the rise of it. So you'll profit off of the interest of of how large it'll get. So if it gets to like 10,000, you don't have to buy one coin. You could buy a fraction of the Bitcoin, and then it'll grow based on how far it goes. How far it rises.
We gonna be walking around with tokens in our pockets like we got that Bitcoin on me. Yeah, you just dropped a few gems. And so we'll be back. September K, Bronx Beats and Barz. Chambers Capital, Tyrell Chambers in the building, y'all. Peace.
Yeah.
If your wordplay is subpar, sorry, you gotta go. The only way to stand out is if you got flow.
What's poppin', y'all? It's your girl September K. Bronx Beats and Barz in the building. We are back with Chambers Capital CEO Tyrell Chambers. Now, before the break, we was talking about Bitcoins and how the evolution of money is gonna impact everybody, and we just want to be on point. We want to stay afloat out here. It's a concrete jungle out here, and a lot of people are not built for it. So we want to make sure mentally y'all good, financially y'all even better. So with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit more about this Bitcoin saga because I'm totally intrigued. So, of course, this is a music show, so I have to know, how will Bitcoin influence music, influence sales of songs and things of that nature?
I'm actually glad you mentioned that because what's happening now is Bitcoin has influenced other companies to create their own cryptocurrency, and XRP is one of them. It's called XRP. It's a cryptocurrency, and what that platform has done is they've actually give more power to the artists, actually. Mm-hmm. So what they're doing is they're looking to bring artists on board with cryptocurrency and making sure that artists are getting paid 100% of their royalties and money based on using their platform and things of that nature. So I think that's a huge development in the artist space, because most artists don't get pretty much 100% of anything when they start signing these deals and they start getting into these platforms and these labels. Mm-hmm. So I think by giving an artist 100% of ownership and rights to their music and their artistic abilities is an amazing thing, and XRP has kind of sought out to do that. So, and that's a cryptocurrency, and I think that most artists should start looking towards Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, because one is the future, and two is pretty much allowing these artists to take advantage and take control of their own work.
Yeah, I think that's very important. So all of you guys out there, take heed, because it's either you gonna get in or you gonna get out and stay out, or you gonna get kicked out when it comes to the financial aspect of earning your music. Earning your royalties and earning these funds and whatnot. I think that this is really, really important knowledge, and I think we all need to get in tune. Now, do you think that this would affect social classes? How would finances and Bitcoin, do you see it becoming something more of a by class type of thing, like a luxury that only certain people will be able to get?
Frustratingly enough, if it does become very, very mainstream, and I'm not gonna say if, I think it will, and when it does, that's why you gotta start early now, because you want to be put in that class of having it's all gonna come down to who has what coin and who has the most of what cryptocurrency really is. You want to be put in that arena, and I think there's always gonna be classism. I don't think that's gonna change. I don't think that we could get rid of that. I think because in order for it to be a huge amount of wealth displaced in one area, there has to be some sort of non-wealth in another area.
Yeah.
When there's the rich will continue to get richer, and it's sad to say, but the poor will continue to get poorer. But you want to be able to at least participate in the growing economy of what's going on. So think about your artists like Akon. Mm-hmm. Akon just now, built his own city and has his own coin called Acoin. So and that's a cryptocurrency. So that just ties into where this world is going and how much influence you'll have if you partake in cryptocurrency.
Now I have a question, because how now with the internet, people can hack into anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like we got credit card scamming now. We got all of these things that are happening. How would the Bitcoin, or how do you foresee the Bitcoin avoiding that type of, you know, discrepancy, I should say, or that challenge? Because when it's digital, it's out there for anybody to grab. So anybody can just create, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, how would that be like even like a counterfeit Bitcoin? Is that even possible to create?
So that's the main thing about Bitcoin is you can't really counterfeit it, and the reasoning behind that is because it's something called blockchain technology.
Okay.
Which is the security behind Bitcoin.
Gotcha.
So that blockchain technology is what kind of like secures who receives and who sends. So before you even able to send something somewhere, you would have to be validated by these validators and these nodes, which we'll get into in another segment. But Bitcoin solves the double spending problem. Like if you think about the fiat currencies like a dollar, you're able to double spend a dollar. You can take a dollar, give it to somebody, and then now you can counterfeit the dollar, and then now you can actually pay this, or you can say, oh, I didn't authorize that purchase. Now that comes back, but you actually still retain the item. With Bitcoin, you know, if a transaction is sent, it's sent for good.
Yeah.
So you done sent the transaction, you authorize that transaction, and the person receiving it received the transaction and it has authorized to receive that transaction, as opposed to, you know, the dollar and how that and that ability to double spend.
Right. So before we get too deep into Bitcoin, we still have to figure out the issues at hand with how can we as communities of, like, you know, struggling communities build our finances and save our money in order for us to get to the next level. So what tips or what advice would you have for us current day?
I definitely think most people should start businesses as well as pay yourself. So you get this money, you want to take that money and you want to pay yourself. You want to say, all right, I know I'm gonna need this money. Let me take this money, save it, put that in an interest-bearing account. Put it into something that's gonna grow. You know, you want to buy assets, appreciating assets like houses. You want to start renting out apartments. You want to start looking at money as if it needs to grow, instead of taking that money and spending it on something that's gonna depreciate. So that and work. You know, many people get past opportunities because it looks like work and it's dressed in overalls. Like, you gotta get out there and work.
Yeah.
Like, the only way to really get this money is to really work for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important thing anyone should do, and you use your talent to make money. You know, become your boss. Start knowing your worth, and don't apologize for asking for a price.
That's a fact. That is so true.
Like, for some reason we get into this mode of like, I don't know my worth. Like, I don't think I'm worth this. Like, no, but these employers know your worth. They'll offer you $17, $18 an hour, and then now you're working 40, 80 hours. Now they know your worth. Do you know your worth? So that's kind of where I want to go and what I want to preach. Starting up Chambers Capital, I feel like we all need to start knowing our worth and really getting out there and letting people know.
So what's the next step for Chambers Capital? What are you guys working on now, or what are you working on now?
So Chambers Capital is definitely, I'm gonna grow it to a big organization. I also want to do a lot of seminars. I want to do more workshops. I see my company at some point being on a huge building with different executives. So I want to make sure this brand is put out there for people. When they see it, they're like, yo, that's that financial wealth brand. That's that financial literacy brand. That's that brand that when you see it, these are the things that they're talking about. We're talking about credit. We're talking about building generational wealth.
Right.
We're talking about, establishing yourself and making sure, you talking, you getting paid for what is it that you're doing. So
Exactly. So we will be back with the Sweet 16 segment of the show. Now, just because he in the seat talk about money don't mean that he can't rap about it. Yeah. Tyrell Chambers Capital, September K, Bronx Beats and Bars. We will be back after this, y'all. Peace.
Sweet 16, sweet 16, sweet 16, sweet 16, sweet 16.
What's poppin', y'all? It's your girl, September K, Bronx Beats and Bars, back in the building with the Sweet 16 segment of the show. Now, this is the part of the show, Tyrell, where you gotta spit something. I don't care what you spit. But, this is what you gotta spit. But before we get into putting you on a hot seat with that, what are some tips you would give us, like college students and, parents and working classes, people just on their grind period that want to just build more and help with generational wealth and get into the right direction so that we can kind of convert a little more easily into what the future holds for us financially? What are some of the tips you have?
Definitely keep it in the family. Also, talk to each other about your finances. The best way to build financial wealth is to actually talk about it. We've been so suppressed on letting our feelings out on how we are financially that we stay there. So in order to get out of financial situation, you got to talk about your financial situation.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk about that with your moms, your spouse, your children. You want to have these conversations, and it starts there. Once you start having these conversations, then it starts opening up more opportunities and more knowledge of what else is out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know what's out there, how you gonna go and attain it? So I think that's one of the most important things that we as a community could do, as well as college students, moms, dads, working people, and establish good credit. If you don't have any credit, open up a secured credit card and start paying yourself. Just to make sure that your credit is worthy in this industry, in this community.
Definitely. So where can we contact Tyrell Chambers and Chambers Capital, y'all?
So you can find me on Instagram at Chambers Capital, also Chambers Tyrell. So it's my last and first name. It's my personal page. You can also contact me at Chambers Capital on Instagram as well. Tyrell Chambers on Facebook, Chambers Capital LLC on Facebook as well. And that's about it.
All right. So now we about to get him on the hot seat. I want to hear something. Look, this is a music show. So let me hear a good Sweet 16 there, Tyrell. Was good.
Damn, you just gonna put me on the hot seat and spit this Sweet 16.
You gotta spit something.
Listen, this is a freestyle, and I know a lot of y'all artists, y'all don't really be freestyle. Freestyle right now, you know what I'm saying? So I said, I'm naughty, 5'5", but don't call me shorty. When you see me on September K show, don't hate, applaud me. I've been rapping since 10, I ain't stopping so I'm 40. I tell her I got a rap book and it's full of pages, I'm telling you it's sick. It got a disease and it's contagious. Have you heard of ink? Rap book full of it. Call me Irv Gotti cause I murder ink. I tell them, I'm a problem and they can't stop me. I'm the eraser and the game is sloppy.